Hi everyone, welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. Today is Thursday, October 25th, 2018. This is a special GoldFish Report with our returning friend, Scott Werner. How are you, Scott?
You know, I'm absolutely fantastic. Got to sleep in this morning, not on purpose, but I slept in.
Well, that's good. It's always good to kind of just lose track of the world around you and go into your inner peace. We're going to be talking today. We have a very special message, and I think even Saint Germain wanted you to talk about this. This is regarding what's called the Ascension Temple, very much like the Ascension Temple from the times of Atlantis, but this one is going to be based in Colorado. It's called the Star Nexus Program, or the Seven Star Project. And what's very interesting about it is that, it is a temple, so of course it is considered a church, and it has very great spiritual significance. So having said that, I just want to remind our viewers before we move on that we are still working on our Road to the White House fund drive, and we're doing pretty good. I'd like to see us do a little bit better, but we are viewer supported. And I know how excited our viewers have been, and you've sent me so many wonderful messages and emails about this. And I'm there as soon as you help us get there. So we're all doing this just for you. There's no corporate media behind us. This is just for the people. So it's our own grassroots effort to make this happen and to help me get into those briefing rooms. Of course, I already have the access in there, but so now I've done my part. So I need our viewers to make this happen, and I know you want it to happen. And how exciting it will be! It's historical. We've never had social media in press briefings before, so this is fantastic, and it's a great sign of the times, and of course of this president's administration. So. I want to thank all our viewers who are donating to that, and to those who haven't, please consider doing so we can make this happen. So Scott, in that regard, we're going to talk about this wonderful topic and this technology that you talked about regarding this Ascension Temple, and I'm sure our viewers can't wait to hear all about it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of background, how I met and encountered Kirk Bradley was 10 years ago. I didn't know who he was, and I have a little fairy story to tell you about. And I know I've reiterated this before, but I was out walking my dog, and we stopped, and we were just relieving ourselves, and we were out by the river here in St. George, Utah, and this orb appeared, and it coalesced, and inside this orb was a little blue fairy, and the fairy said, "Thank you." And I was like, "Thank you for what?" And I can't remember if I was communicating verbally or just telepathically, but we had this conversation, and she told me to get some books on wizardry and witchcraft to read, and they were from Yulwin. There were 3 specific books, she told me, and I that night I went home and got online and purchased those books. A month later, I walk my dog every night, and but a month later I was walking my dog, and 3 orbs appeared to us and coalesced. There was a blue fairy, a pink fairy, and a little guy in a brown suit. And she again said, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for what?" She said, "Thank you for buying these books, and thank you for reading them and learning the spells. And this man is going to be coming in, and you're going to have to undo the spells." Now, I thought this was really interesting that I was the one they chose to do this, and came to find out later that I had actually been one of the apprentices of Merlin in a past life. And so I was kind of, this was not new to me. And it came very easily. And so when she said he's going to be coming in 2 weeks, I wanted to be very ready to undo whatever spells had been cast upon this person. And 2 weeks later, my real estate agent called me up and says, I've got a man who's very sick that's very important. He's building a real important project and you need to heal him. And I said, okay, well, let's make him an appointment and bring him in. And I think it was 2 days later. I had him come in on a Friday afternoon. And when he came in, I could see all of this energy that was surrounding him that was very dark. It was like his whole body was in a cocoon. And so I removed that cocoon spell. And then the next spell I was able to see after I removed this cocoon was he had this energy that was literally squeezing around his neck and suffocating him. And he was dying. He was suicidal, depressed, and a big burly guy, looked like a super soldier. And, probably 240 pounds of total muscle. But here he was, just sick as a dog and suicidal and not feeling very good. So we undid the spell around his neck. And then after I removed that, I saw that there was a energy that looked like the thorns on briar rose, literally around his heart, that was compressing and obliterating his heart. And was able to undo that wizard craft. That was more of a wizard spell. And anyway, we got rid of all those, and then I put him on some herbs and taught him how to protect himself and all these things. And I came to find out that he had built a waste treatment plant down in Los Angeles, California, and had built it for about $5 million. And it was a wonderful waste treatment plant because not only did it separate the plastics from the papers, from all these different things, but it actually, he could take, and he had a magnetic process where he could locate heavy metals and toxins and actually separate those out and put them in containers so they didn't go back in the environment and cause toxicity to the environment. Very interesting guy, and came to find out he had actually worked for NASA and was an instrumental engineer in developing the Star Wars program back in the 80s that brought the Soviet Union down. For those of you who don't know what Star Wars was, they had presented this to Ronald Reagan, and they had presented it to Congress, and Congress decided they didn't want to fund this. And so Ronald Reagan wanted to be the president to take down the Soviet Union. And so they devised other ways of making money. And one of those was, selling arms to different fractions. And then one of the most lucrative things they developed was the cocaine trafficking. And I know people don't want to hear this, but our government got involved in projects that weren't necessarily, on the up and up, but they made a crap load of money and were able to fund them building these satellites that literally could shoot down any ICBM out of the sky before it would come, down into the United States, anywhere. And they built these satellites all over the planet. And the Russians saw that we had built these things and knew that if there was any kind of war, that we could beat it. And so that's when Gorbachev went through perestroika, and the Berlin Wall came down. They dismantled the whole Soviet Union because of this. And it was a good thing, but believe it or not, there's a bad side to every good thing. And
you mean our government's not wholesome?
Oh, man. The true history has been hidden from us. Now, I got another witness of this when I went down to Colombia and stayed with Father Gabriel Mejia down in Medellin, Colombia. and he had actually taken confession from Pablo Escobar. And I learned down there, they know more about the U.S. history than we do because we're not taught this stuff. And so anyway, I came to find that, you know, a lot of the monies from the cocaine industry has actually built our secret space programs. It's built reverse technology. We've got space age technology that's way beyond what anybody really knows about, although Stephen Greer, uh, uh, you know, Corey Good, David Wilcock, all these guys are trying to reveal about the secret space programs and all the technologies and all the different things. And we're still having this withheld from us by, you know, the government, except Trump is actually trying to get, you know, the Star Force, which will combine all 8 secret space programs. We'll probably never be able to integrate one of them, the Dark Fleet, because that's actually ran by Germans. And it's a very dark, they call it the Dark Fleet because they're very naughty, but they have a lot of technology and they're very powerful. But someday I think we'll get all of humanity back to being together in one. So anyway, I'm giving you this background because we're coming upon a time of prophecy, of revelation. In fact, you know, years ago, and I'm going to bring this together for you
Okay.
because it's kind of complicated and yet it's not. We have the capacity as humans to manipulate time. In fact, when you get your space age technology and the ability to have interstellar travel, space travel, you actually have to contract time, and they do this through warp devices, which means they're electromagnetic and they produce a warp field in front of the spacecraft. And the spacecraft literally moves through this warp field to get to wherever you're deciding to go. And it's faster than the speed of light. So that's why, you know, it doesn't take 5 years to get to Alpha Centauri. You get there in just literally a matter of minutes. And the reason I'm bringing that up is in these fields, you can actually contract time, space, and dimension. And so, depending on what you're doing and where you manipulate this space-time continuum, you can actually travel clear across, you know, the galaxy. Now, one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is we can manipulate time. And I learned how to do this 20 years ago, and I would create new timelines for people. I would literally take them back into a past life or a time when they injured themselves and recreate the scenario and create a scenario where they weren't injured or emotionally damaged or whatever the problem was causing their health problem. And I would make a new timeline. Now, this sounds way out there, but believe it or not, this technology's been around forever.
Right.
And we can actually manipulate time as
Well, this
human
is
beings.
right. I mean, this is what the Philadelphia experiment was about, and it was about the traveling. It was using I believe, the Tesla technology to they were using frequencies, and they used such massive frequencies that it displaced the time space continuum, and they did travel to the future.
Yeah,
Yeah, and this is documented. And then they had problems with that. They had problems coming back. They created a black hole. There was a tear, and they had to, so it's not too far-fetched to understand. Of course, this is also believed that this is how we had such advanced look at the pyramids. I mean, we had advanced technology, we had advanced societies in the past. And of
yeah,
course, the flood was because those technologies were misused,
yeah,
and those abilities, psychic abilities, and so forth. But But I'll let you continue, because for anyone who's having a hard time even understanding that, just look up the Philadelphia experiment. And that also had to do with the Montauk Project, because it like you're saying, Scott. I mean, we've interviewed a lot of people on GoldFish Report who have been, I wouldn't say, well, they may have been whistleblowers, but they were there to give their testimony as to their own experience in these programs. And we've had some of those super soldiers on this program talking about that.
Yeah, so
Very
thank you
interesting.
for jumping in there because, yeah, this technology is there and it's real and it works. And we can even, as medical professionals, use it to help people heal past hurts, past problems that come back into this life and create problems for our health and our psyche, everything. And so these things can be repaired. So going back into prophecy, back in Isaiah, he talks about two different scenarios in a timeline. One is Armageddon, where humans create all this diabolical energy where we actually destroy the planet and cause problems. But the earth still goes through the ascension process. And the other scenario is that we create peace and contentment and love and still go through the ascension process. So it's prophesied that the earth is going to ascend. Now, whether or not the humans jump on board with this process is up to us.
Just for first-time viewers, Scott, could you just explain Ascension real quick?
Yes.
So anyone who's new watching this, they don't feel like they don't know what they're talking about.
Yes.
Thanks.
Now, Drambalo Melchizedek has talked about sacred geometry and how the merkabah is formed in our DNA. In other words, our DNA takes and when it's in the proper sequencing without being manipulated by viruses and chemicals and toxins, creating all the diseases we're all currently getting, the DNA is a perfect symmetrical spiral, and it can contract on itself and make pyramids. Now, pyramids are interesting. A lot of people have studied the pyramidal energy, and pyramids actually are a focal point for creating electromagnetic fields. And when you put two pyramids, one upside down and one right side up on each other, it creates a merkabah. Now, a merkabah is that geometric form of two equilateral quadratic triangle pyramids. And they're all have an equal length on each side. The pyramids in Egypt are this exact thing. And believe it or not, below the Great Pyramid is another pyramid that is upside down. And they, discovered this. And they found that this technology works even within structures that are made by humans or ancient aliens, whatever you want to call it. So, but what Drambalo Melchizedek found is when you compress and make the merkabah and then spin it, just spinning the merkabah will cause plasma to be produced. Now, what is plasma? Plasma is an energetic form that is in the sun. The sun is made of plasma and light. Now, our sun in this solar system is a very special orb. It's an orb of plasma and light. And it is an ascension orb, believe it or not. And what's going to happen to planet Earth is it will start spinning and produce plasma, and there'll be solar flares coming, which are plasma energy, and it will light the Earth up into a ball of plasma and light. We get all these things talking about global warming. Well, what's actually happening is the Earth is getting ready for the ascension. And, it has nothing to do with carbon dioxide. That was just a tax thing they were going to put on all the
Raise money.
yeah, to make more money off of us and enslave us more. And but the process can also happen to the human beings because we have DNA in every cell in our body. When Saint Germain first brought me the 24-strand DNA manifestation, the 24 strands is what the original third dimensional humans had in every cell in their body. And they were put into rope DNA, which means, the fibers were literally braided into rope. The fibers, we have 12 double helix, and the double helix were bound together in a way that would protect the DNA. And as we de-evolved and we were enslaved, they dummied us down by removing our DNA. Because our DNA is our access to the Akashic records. It's our access to the divine. It's our strength. It's our brains. It's our power. And so dumbing us down and making us only have 2 strands of DNA in one double helix made it so that we are not as smart, not as powerful. We don't have all those powers that were given to us by our God. Now, here's a little diagram that shows the triple flame of love, wisdom, and power. Love is the pink flame. Wisdom is the yellow flame, and power is the blue flame. Now, as you can see, there's a little dove on here. This was created by the gal in Taos, New Mexico. And all humans have this little flame in their hearts. And it's very small. And as we develop our spirituality, this actually grows to a bigger size in our bodies. And it helps us to create all the love, wisdom, and power we need to evolve. Now, the 24-strand DNA, when you do the manifestation, it actually creates the 24 strands in your body. When I went to speak at Mount Shasta this last time, this lady out of the blue, she just comes up to me and says, "Do you know how many DNA you've got?" And I'm like, well, I haven't really tested. She says, "You have 97 strands of DNA." And I was like, "I do? That's cool." I've just continued doing the 24-strand DNA manifestation, and I didn't realize it, but it has, I do have a higher intellect and a higher power of wisdom and more connection to the other dimensions now than I've ever had in my life. And I know that it's because my DNA is making these connections. The telomeres are little antennae that not only keep our longevity, but they actually communicate with the other dimensions, other realms, and help us to understand things at a deeper level and help our wisdom, help our power, help our love, and communicate these things to us. And that's why I'm bringing up this God's wisdom, power, and love, because we were created by God in his image, and we are coming back to that. And when we go through the ascension process, we actually will not only ascend into a higher dimension, but into a different body that is made out of, guess what?
Light.
Plasma and light. Now, plasma has interesting capacity. Those who are Star Trek fans, they use plasma in the warp drive, because plasma can run equipment, and it can run electromagnetic devices. It can run whatever you desire, because it's a power that is replenishable through the scalar energy, through 0 point energy. It's a very powerful type of energy. Now, even the phaser rifles that, I got shot by a phaser rifle a year ago, and that thing was very powerful, and it shot a hole in my ankle because I had reflective energy around me, but somehow I hadn't put it around my left ankle, and it hit my left ankle and put my ankle out of phase, because that's what phasers do. They can dephase third dimensional beings. Now, they can't affect plasma beings, because plasma beings are beyond that. And we are evolving into plasma beings. But the reason I bring these things up is plasma can run all these devices and create whatever you desire. So if you're a being of plasma and light, you can lower your vibration back down into a third dimensional body, or you can raise your vibration up into fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and higher dimensions. Go ahead.
Isn't so plasma seems to be the missing link here, which is why we're not even taught that it's one of the physical, states of, and it seems it's the manifestation field, though, isn't it? Doesn't it contain that? It's like what is the term for it? It's
Well, for a
I would
better,
say pre-manifested energy or something like that. I
when God
don't
said,
remember exactly, but
let there be light, he created the great, well, he or she, or the energy of God created the great central sun first. And then out from the great central sun came all the other stars and planets and life. And so the plasma can create anything. Like, when I first met Saint Germain, he could place his hand out and have objects appear in his palm of his hand. And he was creating this through the plasma energy. Go ahead.
I think it's been referred to as the field of potentiality. So it depends on what your intention puts it if you are aware of the plasma and how to access plasma, then and I guess it's all around us, actually, which is why we can manifest things. If you understand that the field of potentiality, it's a field of potential. So whatever you put your intention on, because it's a field of potential, it will manifest that. And that's how,
Yeah.
right? Which is what I think you're going to get into with this temple.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So this is very interesting. So when I met Kirk Bradley and we got him healed, he disappeared for 10 years.
Whoa.
I didn't see him or hear from him, nothing. And I came to find out he had developed these water devices that clean even the ocean water and make it into potable water. And one of these devices, is what makes Dubai even able to exist. Is one of these devices help them clean their water millions of gallons per second, so that they can build this big city out in the middle of the desert without any, good potable water, because they're using the ocean water. And the thing they found is water is one of those molecules that not only helps, sustain our physical bodies, but water has potential to carry energy. And we've been messing with electromagnetized water, we potentialized water. Even Emoto found that you can put the word love on a container of water and it will start vibrating with love. You can put hate on there and it'll vibrate with hate. So it can be affected by emotions as well as other energies. And, he froze the water and he saw the crystals, when you put love on it, or joy or peace or these good vibrations, that the molecules would vibrate in those higher vibrations. And as he froze them, they'd be beautiful crystals. And then when he would put the negative aspects on, the water would vibrate at these lower vibrations and the crystals would look ugly and they would look distorted. Now, I'm going to bring a little story in right here because this is very, very important with what's going on the planet currently. It's an old Cherokee proverb. An old Cherokee told his grandson, "My son, there is a battle between two wolves inside of us. One is evil. It is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego." Quite interesting. The other wolf is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, and truth. The boy thought about it and asked, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" The grandfather replied, "The one you feed." And right now we are feeding two different wolves on our planet. One is the naughty wolf of greed, anger, jealousy, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego. Now, let's think about what's going on right here in the United States. Right now, there's a group that is fostering all of this evil, which is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego. Now, you know, I'm not going to polarize you because I want to ask each and every one of you, who are you following? The evil wolf or the good wolf? The good one is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, and truth. We have to choose which wolf we're going to let be in charge of us. And let me tell you, I'd rather the good wolf be in charge of my life. And that's why I'm headed in the trajectory that I'm going, is because I chose to follow the good wolf, the love, the joy, the peace, the kindness, and truth. Okay, so we've got two wolves presenting to us currently. Now, the reason I bring this up is you can't evolve if you're following the naughty wolf. And let me tell you why. The energies of the universe won't allow the plasma energy to be diabolical, believe it or not. And those who try to use it for diabolical purposes will find that the energy will reflect back to them because of the energies they're emanating in these lower vibrations. So if you think you can evolve into a being of plasma and light without following the good wolf, you're wrong, because it won't, the lower vibrations will not all of a sudden transform into higher vibrations. You have to put your intent to do good and be love in order to evolve. So if you think you're going to be evolved, see, this is why AI is being developed, is they want to evolve without going through the proper process. And they're creating these robotic avatars. You know, if you don't believe me, go to Initiative 2045 on the internet, initiative2045.com, and they blatantly tell you what they're doing. You know, Dmitry Ichkov in Russia is developing these avatars. You know, they've already got the arms and legs and the interfaces and all the different things. And now all they got to do is develop it far enough that they put their negative energies into these robots, and they'll be, you know, the Borg. They'll be out in the universe creating havoc and chaos and raping planets of their resources. You know, it's just not a good thing. But they won't be plasma. They will be robots. And so that's why Saint Germain has taught me about the artificial intelligence. In fact, we created a time loop to keep them from advancing it faster, because they were trying to get it done even quicker, because they know the ascension is coming and they want to get this done and put themselves in these before the ascension happens. Because it's interesting, God, the higher energy, the love of the universe will not allow them to evolve in their current state. And they know this. And they know that if they don't put themselves in robots, they'll cease to exist. And that's why they're trying to advance the AI so rapidly. So anyway, getting back to the story about Kirk, I was sitting at my desk 2.5 years ago, and Kirk comes into my office, and he's carrying a big bag of shrapnel, and he pounds it down on my desk, and he tells me this story that he had been out to Afghanistan. He'd been a contractor with the federal government for the military, and he was developing water systems, because he knows how to do this, and it provided the troops with pure water. It would keep the Al-Qaeda from putting poison in the water and killing off the troops. And so that was his job, was to make these water systems that were impenetrable and would produce water out in the deserts and different places. And he was out checking one of his water systems, and the Al-Qaeda had known who he was, and they wanted to kill him. So they started shooting mortars at him. And as he's zigzagging back to the camp, because you're taught to zigzag when they're shooting mortars at you so they won't hit you. And it was funny, because he said there was a couple of guys out there with him. They weren't even shooting at them. They were shooting at him. And as he's running back, he's going, God, why is this happening to me? He literally put up his hands and, God, why is this happening to me? And he heard a voice say, go see Dr. Werner. He has the answer. So he gave me that story. He says, okay, what's the answer? And I said, Kirk, you know dang well what the answer is. You're supposed to be creating environmentally safe cleanup things to clean up the planet. And you're supposed to be creating things that will help humanity with their ascension. And you know what he said? He said, I knew you were going to tell me that. And I'm like, well, Kirk, yep. You're in touch, But then he disappeared again. And I didn't hear from him for about 6 months. So I guess this was 3 years ago. And I heard from him back in March of 2017. No, it was 2018. It was this year. So anyway, he invited me to come to his house. And Sheila Seppi, who is a healer in Avon, Colorado. I always get that wrong. I call it Avon, and they always correct me. It's Avon calling.
Oh, wait, there's one in New Jersey, and if you call it Avon, they'll correct you and call it Avon. Don't come to Jersey.
It depends on what side of the Mississippi you're on.
I think so.
So anyway, Sheila invited me to come and do some readings and do a lecture on the 24-strand DNA. And so I flew into the Denver airport, and they picked me up and took me up to Vail, Avon area, and I gave my lectures, and I did some intuitive readings. And then I headed down the mountain to Kirk's house, because Kirk wanted me to come see him. And this was last April. So it's only been 6 months ago. And anyway, I was very much inspired to give Kirk a blessing when I was there in April. And so I did. And in that blessing, there was a little bit before this, but I'm going to tell this story. I gave him a blessing that he would start creating the Ascension Temple. And I don't know where that came from in the blessing. It just came out of me, and quite interesting. He had been building an energy device, and he asked me, Scott, the government confiscates all the 0 point energy devices. And what design should I do so that the government doesn't confiscate this? And it came out of my mouth when he asked me that. This has been probably a year ago, that he should make it resembling the 24-strand DNA. So make the double helixes, and he made these out of copper, and he made 12 double helix, and it actually started producing energy. But the government didn't come confiscate it because it looks like another human. You know, we're like batteries, like the Matrix. You know, it shows how we run the Matrix with our batteries, you know, in the movie The Matrix. Well, the Matrix brothers made, you know, Jupiter Ascending too.
Yes, they did.
Two fascinating movies. By the way, David Wilcock made a video and he included that, you know, The Matrix and Jupiter Ascending. I was watching that 2 days ago, and now it's been taken off YouTube. David Wilcock was teaching some real magnificent truths in that video, and boom, it's gone. It's not on the YouTube anymore.
Interesting. I didn't see that.
Oh, it was fascinating. And I felt really bad that it got removed because it showed the truth about what's going on and what's going on with our planets and the whole solar system. Quite an interesting YouTube, and I was grateful to see it before it got pulled. But anyway, so getting back to this, he made this energy device out of the design that God made for us humans to create energy. Because see, our energy actually doesn't just come from the prana of the breath, it comes through our DNA. And as you form more DNA in your body, you get more powerful. Go ahead.
You're saying that each one of us are 0-point energy devices.
Yes. Very good observation.
There we go.
We are. And as we augment our DNA, we can evolve. Now, I know I've said this before on the GoldFish Report, but I'm going to go back into this again for those who are just seeing this one. When Jesus was on the planet, Mother Mary had 24 strands of DNA because she had not been adulterated by the Anunnaki and the Arconians and different species that came here and enslaved us. The Essenes had remained up in the hills away from everybody, and they actually had 24 strands of DNA, and Mother Mary was an Essene. And Mother Mary was chosen to be the mother of Jesus because she had higher strands of DNA. And so when the Father came and created Jesus into Mother Mary, Joseph married Mary, even though she was impregnated by another being, and he was here to perform that task to keep her from being stoned, because back then they'd kill the women if they, you know, were pregnant without a father. And Jesus was born with 24 strands of DNA. And he started his ministry and was able to do the things that he did because his energetic field was pure. So his energy was pure and full of love, and so he was able to perform the miracles and cast out evil spirits, all the things that he did because he had that energy of God without any adulteration within his auric field. Now, a month before he went through the crucifixion, he ascended Mount Hermon outside of Jerusalem. And this is in the Bible, and it talks about how he started to glow and angels appeared around him. Actually, what made him start to glow was they were increasing his DNA so he could go through the resurrection. And so when he was crucified, put in the sepulcher, resurrected 3 days later, he appeared to many, many people. But he told them, "Do not touch me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father." So he needed to double his DNA again. In other words, go from 48 strands to 96 strands. So he could go through the ascension process. And what the ascension process did when Jesus ascended, he took many other humans with him that he taught about the ascension, and they ascended also through the energies of becoming beings of plasma and light with the 96 strands of DNA. Now, the reason I'm bringing this story up is these devices that Kirk downloaded. Now, after I gave him that blessing last April, Zadkiel, who is the archangel of the violet flame, appeared to him and told him he was going to start making Ascension Temples. And then Saint Germain appeared to him, and actually they downloaded into him the design and all the complexities of these Ascension Temples of Atlantis. Now, we're calling them Ascension Temples of Atlantis, but there's been other worlds that have used these devices to help with the ascension of people. Now, why are these needed? They're not really totally needed because of what's going to happen to the earth, but they're here and needed because of what's going to happen to humans. Because humanity is at a state where we are at the point where good and evil is at literally a climax. And there's so many people following that darn bad wolf. And we need to get people on board following the good wolf. Now, the Ascension Temples, according to Saint Germain, are needed because we need to evolve 7 billion of us. Now, there are going to be those who choose never to follow the good wolf. And they're diabolical. They become so evil that they will never change. And what's going to happen, according to what Saint Germain, Jesus, the great divine director, Mother Mary has even told me this, they will be reabsorbed through the compassion of God into the great central sun. And those personalities will no longer exist.
Yeah.
That's why the cabal's in such a hurry to build these robots, because they know they're going to be reabsorbed into the plasma of God. So the reason these ascension temples are important is they can clean out our auric field. Remember how I told you Jesus could perform his miracles because his auric field was cleaned out. Well, these ascension temples have 6 chambers that clean up our astral plane, our emotional plane, our mental plane, our spiritual plane, causal body, all the different bodies that are in our auric field, and clean up all 7 of our chakras that are within the body. Now, we have other chakras above and below, but these ascension temples clean us up and get us ready for the ascension. Because some of us have had so much trauma throughout our existence that we need to enter into these temples and be cleaned up and regenerated to prepare us for the ascension. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I think I saw something just the other day talking about each of the chakras, and you're saying trauma. And what causes a chakra to be blocked or stuck, and each chakra represents and corresponds to different vibrations, different emotions, and different. And each emotion is a frequency. So, for instance, your root chakra is fear. It's and when you're fearful, it's not only fear, but let's just give it that as an example, that
Yeah.
if you're in great fear, that root chakra is going to be blocked. And so things of that nature, and as you go up, if you're blocking your ability to love, obviously your heart chakra is going to be blocked, things like that. And you can go into more detail about that, Scott, but sure, we have been traumatized here, especially if we've been reincarnated. We've been here many times. we're carrying that in our DNA, and that's probably what's keeping us from doing self-repair on our
Yeah.
DNA, because our bodies are supposed to self-repair, aren't they, Scott?
Yes. And the 12 strands of DNA represent the 12 chakras, 7 in the body, 3 above, and 2 below. So 5 plus 7 is 12. So that's why you need all 12 double helix to get you to the point where you're a higher dimensional being. And by cleaning out all 12 of those chakras, the bodies around us, the energies around us, it will prepare us for the ascension. And that's why these ascension temples are so important. They will help us clean out all this stuff, because it takes a long time. My wife does past life regressions, and she only it takes a couple hours to clear out energies. And these ascension temples are going to be built in a way that they will clear out the chakras much quicker and get rid of all these past life energies, even future energies, and perfect our physical bodies. Go ahead.
Uh, and that's when Jesus said, "These things I can do, and you can do even more." I mean, that's what he was referring to. It's too bad they took all these teachings and made it into a dogmatic religion,
Yeah.
because these are absolute pearls. And just like with Winston, he saw through the adulteration, of the scripture, and found the true meaning of it,
Yeah.
in his opinion. And I agreed. I didn't couldn't disagree with him on much of his interpretation of what the scriptures really represented. And that was one of them. I mean, all of these things that I can do, you can do more. Isn't that what he said? The
Oh,
kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is within.
yeah.
Hello, what was he talking about? We are the temple. Yeah.
We are the temples. Now, these temples are built on the principles of purifying our auric fields, and they do it through the harmonics of our merkabahs within our DNA. So they clean up everything through creating the plasma energy, because there's going to be magnetics in these, and there's going to be created different frequencies that will raise our vibration and help clear out all the negativity, all of the stuck energy, because we actually get little wormholes and different black. Humans are very interesting. The complexity, there's macro cosms, there's microcosms and ecocosms, and there is as much down deep in the microscopic as there is in the macroscopic. So as I have learned about this through the years, I found that you have to look at things in the macrocosm, but actually also in the microcosm and nanocosm and quarkcosm.
It's fractal. It's fractal, Scott. It's all
Oh,
fractal,
and
right?
it just keeps going. So there's not only even smaller stuff, there's great big stuff, and we have to clean it all up,
Right.
because we've been through many lifetimes and many experiences. And what these ascension temples essentially will do is clean that out in a much quicker fashion than having to go through past life regressions and take hours and hours and hours. It's going to just take a short amount of time to clean up our auric fields. Now, when you go into these, you have to have your 24-strand DNA done. So that's why St. Germain brought that first, was to get me talking about that. Now, I'm not the only one that talks about this. I've found there's many people who are in touch with St. Germain, many people who have been talking about increasing our DNA and increasing our vibration, using sound to clear our chakras. And that's another part of these ascension temples, will be not only the plasma energy, but the sound energy, because it's very, very powerful. And so when Kirk downloaded this stuff and designed these, they're designed to be sound chambers and light chambers and plasma chambers. Go ahead.
Isn't that what the pyramid is?
Yes.
They're Ascension Temples.
Yes. Yes. In fact, it was interesting when I was in Taos, New Mexico. The man running the I Am Temple there told me, now you need to go to the Luxor Ascension Temple and meet with Serapis Bey. Now, I didn't really know who Serapis Bey was. I'd heard about him because we're teaching about them at my office. You know, we have a St. Germain sanctuary there, and every Wednesday morning we meet from 9 to 11 and talk about these processes and learn about them from the books that were originally by Guy Ballard, who wrote, you know, they literally, when he met Saint Germain, then they built this little apparatus, appeared out of nowhere, that Saint Germain put in Guy Ballard's house. And literally voices would come out of this apparatus from the other dimensions and teach them about the different ascended masters, about the different angels, the archangels, the seven Elohim. And they would receive these teachings and they wrote them down in the green books of the Saint Germain teachings. And the St. Germain Press in Chicago, Illinois, actually has all the copyrights and stuff. Now, St. Germain told me you're not supposed to copyright this material. And so I have not copyrighted any of the material I've received from St. Germain. But a lot of people copyright it because they figure they got to make money off of it. But St. Germain is about bringing prosperity without copyrights. And I swear he puts money in my bank account, because since I've been following St. Germain, I have not had problems with money. And I used to always have problems with money because the feds took away everything, took away my ability to make money. And I've always just had to work my butt off just to, you know, keep me out of poverty. And, but since following St. Germain, I haven't had to worry about money or anything. So follow St. Germain because he's cool.
He's cool. It's so humbling, though. You know, I have to say, Scott, it makes your message so much more powerful when you're so humble. You know, I think our viewers who have seen our previous reports know a bit about your background when you talked about the Fed taking your finances and your ability to practice medicine and things of that nature. That's just, I have to say that I think it just gives so much more credibility and, like I said, more power to your statement, to the message that you're bringing through, because you have you have been there from personal experience, and there's a whole story and a whole program on that in and of itself. But the fact that you have allowed this higher power, this higher guidance, this connection to from your intuition to higher beings, a higher wisdom, it goes to show that you were trained in very hardcore science. I mean, you're a medical doctor, and I have to tell you, there's no more science, there's no more, other than physicists who are trained in a certain kind of physics, usually kind of not very, spiritually oriented.
Yeah.
Uh, and so for you to really have this kind of major leap, I would say, from that kind of education, it's amazing. But it's absolutely wonderful to see somebody who could come from that place and make that transformation, and still, um, walk the walk. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're just talking this, you live this. This is your experience. This is what you've manifested, definitely. So I just wanted to let you know that, because it makes it much, much more powerful, because I do know these things about you, and I think our viewers who follow our reports with you, Scott, definitely know that too.
Well, thank you, and God bless each and every one of us. And And my job is, you know, I was told years ago, Scott, you got to get rid of your ego, because they make, in our training, we become very ego-centered because we think we know everything. And, you know, Saint Germain said the MD equals minor deity. We think we're minor God.
Again, very humbling of you to admit that. I mean, a lot of people would not admit that, and absolutely.
Because you do, you even the people, you know, we don't think we can do anything, take care of our own body, and we give our power to the medical profession. And I'm here to tell you, we heal ourselves from within. And so part of the Ascension Temple's purpose is to heal us from within. And so what they did was they made Seven Stars Ministries Ltd. It's P.O. Box 2577, 101 Eagle Road, Building 6, Avon, Avon, Colorado. It's Avon, Colorado, 81620.
I'll put that in the description section for viewers if they want information on it, Scott.
Yeah.
If you just type that to me, send that in the message, okay?
Yes. And I'll send you the whole paper.
Okay.
And it's 7starsproject@gmail.com is their email. And the telephone there is 970-763-5689. Now, their goal and my goal through St. Germain is to get funding. I noticed that you're getting funding also. So just the really rich people who have lots of money, that if you want to do a service to the entire planet, in order to build these, we need, you know, several $1 million to build these Ascension Temples. Each one, Kirk's got a total plan, and I can send you that if you want to look at it and decide whether you want to donate. Literally, we need, you know, really rich donors because it needs millions of dollars to build these things. But they are going to be very powerful, and they're not going to be able to be taken away because there's no patents on the energy sources or any of this stuff, because this is new technology, and we're not going to patent it because these are going to be built all over the planet. So our plans is to build the first one in Colorado and go out from there. Now, the reason this is going to happen is we have about 15 and a half years before the ascension of Earth. And actually, the Earth is going to be going through a lot of stuff before then. And so this is something that needs to be done quickly. And, you know, the more people we get through this process, the higher the vibration of humanity is going to be. Because the more telepathic, the more power you get, you know, I showed this before, the more power we get, the more powerful we will be able to wake up other humans through telepathy, through our demonstrations of these things. Because right now, you know, we're being shown a bunch of crap on TV, on the media. It's all fake news. And it's all controlling our minds. And they're, you know, through the 5G, they're planning to shoot even more energy at us. Now, one of the things, the reasons why they took this stuff off the internet was they're actually showing how the draconians are coming, and they literally have the ability, when places start getting higher up, they come by with this mist and this stuff that is mind control, nanobots that literally come into our bodies and start, you know, making us think thoughts that are not coming from our higher self. They're coming from these AI technology and nanobotic technology. And we're pulling out of that, but we need to have more power to pull out of that. And that's why it's important for us to get our love, wisdom, and power getting more powerful. And these Ascension Temples are going to create that within the humans, and we're going to spread it throughout the planet. It's going to start out as a as a minor ripple and become a huge wave that's going to encompass all the humans on planet Earth, getting us ready for the ascension of the Earth. And those of us who are ascending with the Earth will ascend into plasma and light, just like the Earth is going to ascend into plasma and light. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, which which supports the reason that the whole all of the teachings of Jesus were adulterated and suppressed and over all these years was to prevent us from doing this ourselves.
Now,
So
I've got daughters, 13 and 15. And I asked St. Germain, what's going to happen to them?
yeah.
And St. Germain said, if they want, they can go through the ascension process. If they want to live their lives out and ascend later, because they want to go through the human process, they will be transported to a new Earth. Now, a lot of people talk about Nibiru, Planet X, and all this stuff. What St. Germain has taught me is when the Earth ascends, before a new planet is going to be brought into orbit, the exact opposite from planet Earth. So, in other words, you're going to have these two orbs going around the sun in Earth's orbit. One of them will become a small sun out of plasma and light. The other one will be a third dimensional planet, class M, that can support humans. And the humans who do not want to go through the ascension process, who don't feel ready for or fearful or whatever, but they're good people, will be transported by spaceships, spacecraft, to the new Earth, the third dimensional Earth.
You mean the secret space program
Is
spacecraft?
going to serve a good purpose.
Is that right? Feed the good wolf. Feed the good
Yeah.
wolf.
Feed the good wolf. Feed the good wolf. Exactly. So the reason they called it Seven Stars Ministries is the Pleiadian constellation has the 7 stars that depict, the 7 what are they called?
7 sisters.
The 7 sisters. And so all of this is coming through from Pleiadian energy. And so that's why they called it the 7 stars, because I knew people were going to ask about this. And so,
Yeah.
all the names have been brought to us. And the star nexus system, modular components technology, we have a synopsis written up. There's actually detailed plans of how it's going to be built. And if you want this sent to you, it's a pretty big file, but we'll send it to whoever would like to look at it, who's going to donate money, because we want to be open and have you have the knowledge, because obviously you don't want to put your money into a project you know nothing about. And but I can tell you, I've looked at all the project, and Jesus, Saint Germain, the great divine director, Mother Mary, Serapis Bey are all behind this. And
Sure.
it's a part of what's going to happen with our evolution. Atlantis was actually helping people evolve and become fifth dimensional beings. And when they went into the ego, they destroyed Atlantis.
Yeah.
So, right now we're at that crossroads where we can either destroy the planet or ascend. And the dark side has lost. That's why we had the show about we have already won, because as we look out into the future now, the bad future is no longer there. So we've done our work. We just need to further proceed in our work and get all the humans ready for the ascension. So that's why I'm on today, is to ask for donations for the 7 Star Ministries to get this project going, to create these all over the earth. Now, there's probably other projects out there. I mean, we found one in Boulder that they were going to do this, but the cabal stopped them. Because if they can stop these projects, you know,
Well, that's why you shouldn't really disclose all the details of how they're made, so they couldn't be, under, uh, found, I always think of the Star Wars, where they found the weakness in the Death Star and they were able to destroy it, which was a good thing. But, you want, the thing is that I think, like you said, this energies are not supporting the chaos anymore. It's kind of finishing out, it's fizzing out, it's reaching its climax, like you said. We can see this on the world stage. We see this politically, what's going on even in the United States. So it's very, very clear. And it's great because we already do have we have the pyramid, so we already do have a template as to how this works. And the truth of what the pyramids really are has been hidden from us as well.
yeah,
So it's interesting that you said that, though, because I also knew that there was also these psychic abilities, these mental abilities were also misused. So once, and that's, why we had the flood, because we were, they at the time, maybe it's still all of our souls just reincarnated, who knows.
yeah,
It's likely it is, but in some ways, but it was taken away because it
yeah.
was misused. And so
Now,
there's a responsibility, which is why you can't have this unless you are higher dimension and understand that there's going to be immediate, I guess you say, immediate karma, right, if you misuse this.
yes. Now, here's the thing: you can't go into fear and worry about the dark side, you know, hitting you or taking you. I'd be dead right now
Yeah.
if I hadn't put my faith in the ascended masters and in Jesus. And I literally, they've tried to kill me several times, and my job isn't done, so I'm protected. And just know that if you contribute to this, you will be protected, because the higher beings of light and love, the Pleiadians are here, the Arcturians are here. They have technologies. Literally, when Trump was being shot at, they tried to kill Trump recently,
Yeah.
and literally the Arcturians shot that missile out of the sky.
Yeah.
Now, when Kim Jong-un shot that missile at Hawaii, they shot that missile out of the sky. So we have protection. And if we call upon them and ask them to protect us, they will protect us. And so just know that we have protection. And so even letting people know about the technology, letting them know about the Ascension Temples, this energy is ordained by the love of God, and it is going to happen.
And who wouldn't want to do what Jesus could do? Who wouldn't want to do it? So, and I think what you're really looking for is a benefactor, a humanitarian. Now, you made a comment that we receive donations. We don't see those kinds of donations. It would be great if we did. We'd have a studio to work in and things like that. But that would be wonderful.
No, people are
We
afraid.
are open to that, but absolutely, to build these temples, you need a benefactor, you need a humanitarian. And let's hope that these humanitarian projects, that this currency reset, that this financial transition that we're going through right now will lead to the ability for people to donate to this. And if you wanted to know where you could put that money, this is a great place. Not
Yeah,
just the GoldFish Report, but
no,
these
donate,
Ascension Temples.
donate,
Absolutely.
donate to the GoldFish Report too, because we need this knowledge out there far and
That's right.
wide. So please donate. If you don't have a ton of money, donate to the GoldFish Report. At least disseminate the knowledge through
Right.
Louisa. But it's interesting. I actually met some fairly well-off people down in Orange County, California. And I think they're afraid to donate. They go into fear, and fear is not what's going to help us.
Right.
What's going to help us is knowing that God is going to watch over us, protect us, and this is ordained, like I said before, and I've been protected. I mean, I've been shot by a phaser rifle. I've been thrown around by the wizards, and, I've had all kinds of crap happen to me since I've been following this path, but here I am. still here speaking to you.
It's very true, Scott. And it's if we went into fear, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah,
If people only really knew what our paths have been like, and still we refuse to go into fear.
yeah,
So I think there's a very strong, and I think that our viewers get that. We have really great responses from our viewers. This message, this information goes where it needs to go. It
yeah.
gets where it needs to get, and at the right, things will manifest and will come together at the right time. But if people really only knew what we had to personally go through to get here and be at this point, they would have, I think many would have given up a long time ago. And not to say that there weren't moments when we each ourselves felt the same way, but we didn't. And so we just can't go into fear and live fear. We can't feed that fear wolf, that anger wolf. The hate wolf. We can't feed that wolf. Well, I'm so glad you brought that on, Scott, because that is so relevant. It's so incredible. It really is. It is such the truth as well. So truthful.
It is total truth. And so just know fear is the opposite of faith. And if we have the faith of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. So just remember, don't go into fear, stay in faith, out of your ego, and let's get this done, because this is going to spread throughout the earth, and it's been prophesied. And the other prophecy, see, in Israel, they have two scrolls of the Isaiah scrolls. The one depicts Armageddon, the other depicts paradise. And we want to create paradise here on earth to get ready for the ascension. And that will help us, because having the cabal removed and the powers of good taking over the earth, we're going to be able to transport those who don't want to go through the ascension to the new earth. We're going to be able to, all of us who want to go through the ascension, I'm ready for the ascension. I'm ready.
Oh yeah, we're ready.
I'm ready for the ascension.
We're ready. We're doing the prep work, and we're spreading the news, and this is the first step, Scott. So this is a wonderful message today. Thank you so much for being here to present it, and it was packed with information. I really loved how you really worked up to this so that it made perfect sense and put everything into context. It was really very, very well done. I have to say, you're getting a lot of that experience on the road with all your presentations and lectures you're giving everywhere. You're such a busy guy.
Yes, and
That's wonderful.
everything is exactly how it should be. So I'm supposed to end this now. I'm going to send all the information. So if you want to contribute, Louisa will have it on her website. You can. Anybody who wants to email me, I'll get them the information too. And so I'm supposed to give you a blessing all for the entire planet from the great divine director and from the I am that I am. So I'm going to do that right now. Having been mandated by the creator of the universe and designated by the great divine director to bless the planet Earth and all the humans on and off planet Earth who are getting ready for the ascension of the planet Earth, and those who aren't ready but need to be taught, we bless you that you will be filled with the love of God, the power and wisdom, that your hearts will be augmented with those powers, that in the last days it was prophesied that men's hearts shall fail them, and that's because of the fear and all of the contention of the bad wolf. We bless you to follow the good wolf's teachings of love, wisdom, power, and compassion, all of the good energies, that you will follow these and that your heart will be strengthened. Your love will be strengthened. Your abilities to create a good life around you will be augmented. We bless your minds that they will be filled with the love of God and the love of other humans, that you will not go into fear, that you will do the opposite and go into faith and belief in these good teachings, that are teachings that will help you create a higher body that will get ready for the ascension. We bless you that you will telepathically communicate the goodness and kindness and love of God to all the planet and all the humans on the planet, that this will augment all of our minds, souls, and bodies, that we will create what we truly desire, which is a glorious paradisical planet on which to live and on which the third dimensional beings will be able to live upon. We bless you that you will have the faith, the wisdom, and the power and the love to do this. And we seal this blessing upon all of you and bless each and every one of you with all of the abundance, prosperity, and wisdom that can come from these teachings. And we do it in the name of the Almighty, I am that I am. So be it. So it is. Woo!
That is so.
God bless
Thank,
it. So be it. So it is.
thank you so much, Scott. That was wonderful. That was, really a beautiful blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for your wonderful message today. I think this is something to really be excited about. It's something to look forward to. I mean, if you really want to get out of this, this stagnant status quo that's happening on this planet, set your sights higher, set your spirit higher, and reach for the stars. I mean, we're only limited by our own thoughts, so we need to, embrace our own. Go inside and find out what you're really made of.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, well, it's a wonderful
Thanks for
message.
giving this avenue, this platform. I tell you, I love the GoldFish Report. I love that I met you a year ago. It's only been a year and 2 months ago that I did my first goldfish.
Really, it seems longer. It seems like
Once we've known each other another way, I think we have, because all of us from Atlantis, after we destroyed it, we actually stopped our progression. So a lot of us Atlanteans have come back to restore and get back what we've done wrong. And so I'm one of them. I know I've repented.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think there's no coincidence. I think we had to all come back to, synchronistically. It has always been very synchronistic, and I, certainly, although I've been under the weather and I'm not still feeling well today, my voice isn't quite great, but, I'm still trying to project that whatever, I'm guided to project. And that's, to get this message out, get it out with the, the love and the vibration that I try to project to everybody. And, just to hope everybody will allow it to inspire them and to do whatever their calling is. You know what I mean? So it's very
Well, I thought
personal.
you did a great job. So
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to starting to report in the briefings at the White House. It's just going to be so exciting, and it's going to be an interesting experience. It's not going to be every day, but, we have a limited press pass. We have a weekly press pass. So there's only
oh,
certain. There's only certain weeks I can actually go. So, it'll probably be, a week or 2 weeks per month, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. At least 1 week, and maybe once I build up um, my credibility. I'm not really quite sure what I need to do in terms of qualifying for the hard pass, which means I could just go anytime I wanted and as often as I want. But because we're alternative media, we're not part of that mainstream media machine. So we're, they have to, the White House has to go through its own process um, to I guess, legitimize alternative media, but they've already processed us, so we're ready to go. So thanks, Scott. Thanks for your message, and we will see you next time. And I want to thank all of our viewers for watching. I'll have this information in the description section of the video. As usual, just click on that more when you see the description of what this video is about. Click on that more button, and it will show you everything you need to see. So I want to thank all our viewers for viewing, and this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.